Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. The Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, I think for entertainment purposes, mostly his own, appeared before the House Financial Services Committee yesterday. He tried to kick off the conversation with some substantive data on the U.S. economy, and then it quickly devolved into the mindless sniping that we've become accustomed to. First, the substantive effort.
The U.S. will have reported likely, despite the government shutdown, despite the longest government shutdown in history, 4.1% growth for the past 3 quarters. And so we have been successful at that. Europe last week celebrated 0.3% growth. So it's no comparison. And I think we are beginning to accelerate. And importantly, everything we are doing is to fix this terrible Biden inflation from the past 4 years, 21.5%, much more for working families, and we are bringing that down.
And from there, it got to this place very quickly, like with Gregory Meeks from New York, just shouting back and forth, nobody being heard, and allegations of being a Trump toady rather than the independent Treasury Secretary we hoped you would be, all that jazz.
I take that as a no. You do not want to answer that question. I take that as a no.
For a $7 billion.
I'm asking you to do your responsibility as Secretary of the Treasury. You do not. Will you?
Time has expired.
You cannot erase what you did in 2000.
He's the one that went past your time, Mr. Chairman.
No, and
he did not answer my question, and he wouldn't pass the time.
He had 6 seconds left to try to answer your question, and
it was a yes or no. It was a yes or no answer. I asked him, will he? No, it was yes or no.
The OCC is an independent.
Stop covering for the president. Stop being his flunky.
Gentlemen.
He's talking to me. I'm responding back to him.
2006 trip to Venezuela.
Stop covering for the president. Don't be a flunky. Work for the American people.
So everybody got their little soundbite for their social media accounts, and it moved quickly on so that the next person could get theirs. But for more on serious matters economic, including the plummeting price of Bitcoin, please be joined again by John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarkets.com. Author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Just out of curiosity, because I know you're, generally speaking, sort of a pox on both houses when it comes to politics, which is often warranted, maybe even usually. What's your take on Scott Bessent as a messenger on market economics?
Well, what I heard from him in the clip didn't sound too good, right? The economy grew despite the government shutdown. Well, that's absurd. Since when does governments grow the economy? Since when does government spending grow the economy? And then GDP is just such a worthless number. I wish he would quote that. I'll say, however, that he published my book, The Money Confusion. So if he would read my stuff more, I might agree with him.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about crypto. I see Bitcoin has dropped under 70,000. It's in free fall. Crypto is kaput. Right, John?
No. I argue in the book that Bitcoin is not money. it will never be money, and we see this in its decline. Now, I want to be clear about that. I would say the same thing if Bitcoin were at 160,000 right now. What bounces around is not money, simply because money is about the exchange of wealth for wealth. And so if I say to you, hey, come fix my bathroom, I'll pay you 1 Bitcoin now and 1 in a year, you're going to logically say to me, okay, but which one? The one that was 120,000 however long ago? One that was 2,800 10 years ago? The one that's 68,000 now? That's not money. You can't really transact with that because there's going to be a loser in every transaction. When with trade, we kind of know it's only winners. It's value for value.
Well, right. So then for the person who is still looking at crypto and or who's involved in it and maybe involved in it just because they believe it to be a speculative asset, they just thought this is the future because the Trump family says it's the future, and other people, Trump, crypto maximalists, and it's coming, and the underlying blockchain technology, even if I don't really understand it, that's part of this new digital economy along with AI. This all sort of melds together, the singular balance sheet and all the things that are bandied about. What should people understand when they're making a decision whether or not to invest in or stick with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever?
Well, feel free. It's a speculation on scarcity, I guess. But that's not money. If the money that you claim is going to replace the U.S. dollar is a speculative asset, then you've just explained why it's never going to replace the U.S. dollar. Because last I heard from the crypto enthusiasts is that crypto was meant as a replacement for turbulent government money, fiat money. You're saying why it can't replace the dollar there because it's more turbulent than the dollar. And they say, well, actually, it's digital gold. Really? Well, gold's near all-time highs right now. Why isn't Bitcoin mirroring that rise? Because remember, when gold rises, that's just a sign. That's not a sign that gold's becoming more expensive. It just means that the dollar in which it's priced is becoming cheaper. So I thought the whole point of Bitcoin was that it would do well when the dollar is doing badly. Can't claim that.
Well, right. And so how should people understand Bitcoin when what it was marketed to be is not bearing out? And so what do you say is happening right now, and where do you think this goes? Because you're still talking about the crypto revolution. So it's a crypto revolution to upend what at present?
I think, and I've said it before, and I say it in the book, that I think ultimately crypto or private money will replace government money simply because government money is turbulent too. Private money, what does capitalism do? It competes away profits. There are profits made in trading uncertainty about global currencies. There's, 10 trillion worth of trading a day. There's some profits there that a private money, let's just for fun say an Amazon dollar. Amazon would never devalue its dollar. It's private money. So there's profits to be made replacing the U.S. dollar with currency that holds its value, that's constant throughout time. And so I still think crypto or private money is going to replace government money. But I'm very clear in the book, Bitcoin will not be that for all the reasons that people are so excited about it a lot of the time and not excited about it now. What doesn't have constancy of value isn't going to replace government money, because that's the problem with government money is.
Do you think that a pullback on crypto that could continue retards this crypto revolution, pushes it off into just because it loses that investor, even speculative investor enthusiasm?
No, not at all. And you can look. It's in my book, but you can look up columns where I've said the most important thing to happen to crypto would be a big correction in all of its most famous currencies. And why is that? because that's what happens with every advance. Remember when the internet bust in 2001, did that foretell the end of the internet? No, it just got rid of a lot of lousy, unworthy internet businesses. But the internet is a fact of life today. No doubt what we're seeing right now, all these data centers going up, all these AI companies valued at enormous levels. Trust me, and this is no insight, lots of them will go under too. Lots of these investments will go belly up. That's not a bad sign. That's a sign of progress. That's information. That's the path to something much better. And so I think crypto the same way. You've got to have the mistakes so that people get to the point of recognizing, okay, what's money? Well, money is quiet. Money is this thing that you're not supposed to be speculating on. That's what Adam Smith understood. That's what if Adam Smith and David Ricardo were alive, they'd say, wait, you trade currencies? That's like trading the foot or the tablespoon or the cup. Why would you trade that? And so I think gradually we're going to get to this point, and so you need these explosions, these breakups, these bust-ups to inform the market better about what's actually needed.
Do you, when you look around in the crypto space, do you see someone or some company that's perhaps operating below the fold that is sort of what people should be looking at? This could be the next iteration of this development, this heuristic trial and error process that you're describing?
Not yet, but that's what makes me optimistic. What you see in crypto right now is attempts by people to make money, including the Trumps. Oh, if our coin goes up or whatever goes up, we're going to be richer. Well, that's not what money is. Money is the foot, if it's good money. It's the second, it's the minute, it's the tablespoon. It's constant. Because the sole purpose of money is to facilitate the exchange of actual wealth. And so you need a measure that you can trust. And so what I do believe, and I argue in the book, is that it's coming. And it's coming because there's too much money being made on uncertainty about money. And as a consequence, there's too little economic growth. Think of all advances that never happened, the unseen, the museum of the unseen, because we've been trading money for years and putting money into inflation hedges. To buy gold is like putting money into a coffee can. You're not discovering anything. You're not curing cancer. You're not creating a new transportation to artificial intelligence advance. You are literally putting money in a coffee can, protecting it from something worse. That's not progress. Think about George Soros. Some listeners love him, some hate him. But what if currencies had been stable these last 50 years? George Soros probably would have become a cancer researcher or something. Nothing against hedge funds. They serve a purpose. But many of them exist to trade the chaos wrought by unstable money. I think that's going to change in time.
I wanted to get your explanation of your concerns over the newly minted Fed chairman, or at least nominee for Fed chairman, Kevin Warsh. A lot of free market-oriented types, including our friend Steve Moore, are high on him. But you have concerns that he is more of an interventionist than we would otherwise like to see at the Fed if we have to have a Fed at all. What's your case against Warsh?
Yeah, well, Steve also said that conservatives would love Ben Bernanke. Look that one up. He said that way back in the day.
that didn't work out very well. Yes,
and it didn't for the same reason I'm skeptical about Kevin Warsh. What have we seen the last few weeks? We've seen countless conservatives point out that Donald Trump, if he decrees a 10% cap on credit card interest rates, credit and credit cards will be scarce. Price controls lead to scarcity. Well, what's true about price controls for credit cards is also true about interest rates. They are a price. And so this idea that Warsh can do for Donald Trump and bring rates lower is so ridiculous. So I don't worry about what Warsh is going to do on interest rates. It doesn't matter. Markets set interest rates. I don't think he can control inflation like Steve Moore says, simply because if you look at the Fed's history, it's never had say over the dollar's exchange value. That's never been part of its portfolio, ever, not once. And so what worries me about Warsh is he is an interventionist. he cheered. I was in the room of about 20 people when he cheered on. He said what Bernanke did, he told us to do whatever it takes, try everything in 2008. In doing that, they created a financial crisis. There's no financial crisis without government intervention. The crisis was the intervention that Ben Bernanke and George W. Bush said was necessary. And so fast forward to 2020, who's writing all the op-eds for the Wall Street Journal talking about ways for the Fed to get money to businesses put on their backs by those anti-liberty lockdowns that Republicans had to have? Remember, Donald Trump was president at the time. I voted for Trump. What he did on the lockdowns was hideous. And so my point there is that it was Warsh writing these things saying, well, you know, if the Fed did this and created this lending facility, we could prop business stuff. Why not say, hey, how about end the lockdowns? So I worry about what Warsh will do when times are uncertain. It's so easy to be a libertarian or a conservative when times are tranquil. I want the libertarians and conservatives to say when things are not, that we're not going to intervene and create crises. They did it in 2008. They did it in 2020, disastrously so. And that's what worries me about Warsh, not this nonsense that everyone's focused on about interest rates and inflation. Look, the Fed's ability to control either is so overrated. It's almost comical.
John Tamny, editor of RealClearMarkets.com, author of The Money Confusion, How Illiteracy About Currencies and Inflation Sets the Stage for the Crypto Revolution. John, thank you as always.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And John joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Mike Lindell has a passion to help people get the best sleep of their life. He started by creating the best pillow ever, and right now he is passing the best prices to you.